Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence. I'm Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is Woodland Path, 6x8. I painted this a couple days ago, and I'm really happy with it, and very happy to share it with you. Um, One thing I want to point out is that the reference image for this particular painting comes up in the members area prior to the footage of the real-time painting session, which is in 4K with no ads. So if you want to, and that's about 2 hours long or so, and that's really, for me, a good length of time for a little painting. I like that. In fact, because I gotta, maybe sell them for a bit less because they're smaller. I don't like it to take much longer, to be honest. That said, I don't care how long the painting takes. It takes as long as it takes to make it good. And the idea behind creating paintings that you're trying to make beautiful, trying to make them good, is that they're going to stay here and they're going to be here when I'm gone. That's the idea. So we are painting on some hardboard. Yes, I believe it is hardboard, and it's prepped with some house paint, a good couple coats of, I think it's called rich soil, and that's just a color chip I got from the paint store. I really do like it quite a lot, and the underpainting color here is burnt umber. Now, I in the reference image, that main tree you see there with the little more involved tree was a little further towards the middle. I was trying my best to get it over, but you always gotta pay attention to the spaces between your trees. If the intervals are too regular, that's an automatic fail, and doesn't if you've got a problem like that, it really doesn't matter how much other wonderful stuff you do to the painting. That's what's sad. So always have a care. And of course, you got the rule of thirds. We're in the vicinity there. The whole idea is basically to get you into the background. Now, in this scene, I didn't have a little lake like that originally. I installed that, and that's one thing I really love about the modern tools. Often I'll start with a photo, or in this case, this was an image I'd had put together through digital means, and just kept taking it further in the Photoshop, and I'm doing that a lot now. And what's very interesting, I was just doing that this morning because I want to do a 9x12, and I needed a specific kind of scene. You'll see why later on. I don't want to say much about it here, but I'm working on a project where that's going to be, something I need. And gosh, that went really well. The thing is, I started with a photo I'd taken, and it had potential. It had these two main trees with the light hitting them a certain way, but I ended up installing a path. I installed a distant meadow. I brought in all kinds of different ground cover around the path, and just kept moving it in the direction I needed it. And getting to my point, the idea with each particular change is I'm looking at the image, I'm appraising it, and deciding where I want it to go. Now, this is what we can do as humans. This is what we're very good at. And this sort of sense, though, of what you need to develop in a painting or image, that is a function of experience, and of course, whatever talent is supposed to be. I am not as big a believer in talent as some. I do think some of us have maybe a more developed sense of aesthetics than others. But the fact of the matter is, if you put a lot of work into creating images, you're going to develop over time the ability to discern what is and is not a good image, and how you can improve something. So like I said, I had this bit of reference. I said, no, I want a path. I like a path. And in that particular scene, the path led you into just darkness. Dark shrubbery, and I would rather move you into the light. So I was able to effect a change there, put in a distant meadow. And this is very similar to this scene here. We have a distant lake. I like a little lake or a meadow, a path. and I don't get tired of it. Hopefully, you don't get tired of it. But the fact it's okay if you do, because the main reason that we need to make art, especially in the modern world where people can whip up all kinds of amazing stuff with just a sentence, let's be honest. Um, the reason to do art is because you have a need to express yourself. You have a need to make something. And I'm a big believer that oil painting is one of the best ways to do that. It's the most flexible, and because it's flexible, I would say it's the most expressive. Now, yeah, you can express yourself with any media. Definitely express yourself with acrylics, and I have done, or pastels, or watercolor. And each of those are totally valid ways of working and painting. But for me, that give and take that you get with the oil paint, where you can be immediate or you can rub things in a little bit subtly, and you'll see how I was doing a bit of that in the sky we're painting here. I wanted a little chunky and patchy. More and more, I don't want to overblend, over smooth things in my sky. I think it looks cool to see some brushwork, even if it's not, part of me. It's taken many years, honestly, for me to let things go like that, because I go, no, I can make that just a little this or that. And the problem was, every time you make those sort of moves, you end up taking something away after a certain point. So I love it when you get that, like in skies especially, you get the colors in place, a certain amount of movement, and it's really good from there to just leave it alone. Sometimes, as you're working on other elements in the painting, uh, some bits may be looking too chunky, might make themselves apparent, and you can just fix them up. And that's one reason I like to keep, say, the brush I used for the sky painting. I don't clean that off. I have that setting there, and if I need to go in and do some subtle little things like that, that's what we do. We're going to talk about this path in one sec, but right now we're going to talk about the book. Yeah, just got an order for the book this morning, and I'm really happy about that. I'm not going to be happy to ship it anywhere on the planet. $60 US international shipping is included, and if you're interested in painting tonally, you'll get as much as I can tell you about it. Although I actually have a lot more to say, but this is a good condensed format that's kind of a how-to, and I think you'll enjoy it. Back to the painting. Anyway, this path came out looking pretty good, and one of the things I like to do with paths is, like, I have a good friend who is very good at painting dappled paths. Honestly, really good. I'm not, and so, but I'm good at getting what needs to be done in there, and in such a way that it's not an impediment to enjoying the painting, and that's where I'm at. But I have to say, like, I wasn't so much going for a dabble here. It's just a variance. You don't want your paths to be all just one solid color. And another deal killer would just be to do nothing but a straight up modulation. You've got to have some variety. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Also, I think paths, you don't want them too dark either. You want them, and I always love to make a path a little darker on the bottom, moving into more light, because that's moving you along. Now, these are your typical, like, M. Francis dark trees, and I'm very happy with them. I could have gone in there and rendered some, bark and things like that, but many times I like my trees to function sort of as dark sentinels in the landscape, And lately that's not really even in a conscious way, I've just been driven into that contrasty sort of thing, a brighter sky with darker trees, and you move that middle bit around, of course, and I think we did a good job with that in this painting. By the way, this is one thing I like that I did here, and you see me doing it right now, is I was in a bit lost with all these trees around. I know where I wanted the tree trunks, the dark tree trunks, but what I ended up doing was just working in, like, this slightly less dark tone all around the trees, and that just gave me really working and focusing with making the masses and the shapes look good. And there was a lot of good information in the reference image, I won't lie, and but even there, I felt like I was a little bit lost at some points, but that's what got me centered and able to pull things off. And you can see with those less dark we have the dark masses of the trees and slightly less dark masses of the essentially the shadow areas of the next level back. Um, from there, I felt like, oh, we're off to the races here. We're good, And you see me, like I was saying, doing a little touching up in the sky here and there every now and again. But I very much want to, because you could take something like what you see there in the sky, and you could just blend it so far that it looks like it was airbrush, and I'm always saying that. Yeah, so from here and this is typical for me, I leave areas that I've got still to paint as board color. And increasingly, because that is a middle tone, I can leave a lot of that showing. I don't have to worry so much about covering up every bit, and it gives me a very even, middle of the road reddish tone, which, if you think about it, when you look at nature, you're seeing tons of red. It's all behind the green, and that's one reason why this sort of board coloration works so well, I think. Yeah. The one thing I did here, I try to avoid is I got half a tree on our left-hand side, and if you're going to do it, you need to be strategic. It can't be anything like a focal tree. I remember back when I first came to New Zealand, there was a pretty cool like path to a beach and some really neat trees, but in my photo reference there was half a tree, and that's exactly how I painted it. And I believe I did destroy that painting. It's one of the ones that didn't make it, and that's all to the good, because sometimes the best way to learn a lesson like that is by doing it, looking at it and going, ooh, wow, I guess that doesn't work. Note to self. But this half a tree totally works, and what it's doing is it's keeping us moving into the scene, so we're kind of blocking anyone's exit there with that tree. And it's for the same reason that I like to maybe leave like on the other side there. And these are things I look at when I'm compositing the reference image. I like to leave a little breathing room between that the furthest most tree on our right side and the edge of the picture. And always keep in mind you're going to have a 1/4 inch rabbit from a frame coming into that. So, you know, definitely don't want to crowd things too much there. You don't want any part of your painting to feel crowded. It's these intervals and how they're reacting with each other that is the primary driving force of the composition. So let's talk a little bit about these background hills. A lot of times I think my background hills can be a little oversimplified. I wanted to just imply some different things going on in this painting back there. And I'm real happy with the way that turned out. And it's just, you know, putting a few smidges of different kinds of colors in there. And, you know, this is how you work. You know, you got things you want to do with each part of the painting. Like in the foliage, I know I want to get some lighter greens and oranges and things like that in there. In this painting, I didn't want to go straight up like fall scene, but it did end up looking like it certainly had a lot more color in it than the original reference image, which was very much silvery grays and greens. And sometimes I'll paint that, but for the most part I want more richness of color. I wanted more reds and things. And I'll give you a tip here in 15-minute section of the video. I know a lot of you don't care about Photoshop, don't want to mess with it. But, you know, one of the best ways you can improve your work is by giving yourself better looking reference to make your paintings from. So that's time well spent. And at the end of the day, it's not like the reference image is going to get put up on the museum wall next to your painting. It's just going to be the painting. One of the exceptions for me would be my members area videos. Yeah, they are forever tied to the reference. But I don't mind. I do that for the purpose of teaching. Yeah. Anyway, what I did in Photoshop is one of these neural filters I used was you can move the colors from one image to another. So I grabbed an older reference image I put together with a lot of reds and things in it, and I brought it in and I brought that made a change and brought that in as a layer and started using that to push the color in a different direction than just boring old green and silver. Yeah. And I think that's important because, yeah, if every painting you're doing is looking just green and silver, I mean, maybe that's your thing. Maybe you're Camille Corot, you know. But I like to push things a lot further. And in this case, I'm super happy with the way that came out. In fact, I'm totally stoked with this painting. So thanks for joining me today. Until I come back with another video for your, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself and your family, all your loved ones, and stay out of trouble. Fight the power.